Good morning, it's Norma Talks and welcome to my channel. It's finally back to Norma Talks. I'm having two holidays on a Wednesday and I took them off and I felt like I didn't know what to do with myself. But I was kind of glad to have a little bit of a break, you might say. But I feel like I'm behind the eight ball now because what we usually do as we go along, I haven't done. So I actually have put out a reading here for North America for January, sorry, not February. We're not there yet. And it sort of surprised me because I know the fires down in California are rampaging. Strong winds and lots of fire, and people are losing their homes, and I'm very sad, and I send whatever support can be for there. But I don't see it reflected here in the readings. But I do have to make a comment, and it's a little bit political. And that is if you are aware of how much interference in weather modification goes on, one can't be surprised at some of the things that are happening around the world. I watched the movies Twisters. It was one of the new ones, and it does kind of explain that some of the things that go along. But also, I'm very familiar with HARP as well. And if you don't know about HARP, you might want to look about that. So anyway, I'm sad about that because I know what it's like when, especially fire. Fire is probably one of the most horriblest things you have to go through, whether you're losing everything or whether you're suffering burns yourself. So my heart truly, truly goes out to the people down in Southern California right now. Anyway, looking at this reading, kind of basically shows where kind of I'm coming from in a way, because we've got the first two symbols of the month, pentacles, the 7 and the 9, showing kind of everything stationary and everything is kind of settled and there. And I think that to some degree that kind of happens. After all, we are now at the 8th. Can you believe that? I can. So as we move along, for those of you that are interested in the actual pictures, the 7 and the 9 come first, but then comes the Queen of Swords, and I think that's where we are now in the sort of this last numbering, 8th, 9th, maybe even into the 10th, where people are really not sure what's happening because it's the Queen of Swords. And I'm going to show you the Queen of Swords for a moment here. It's kind of like, I really don't like what's going on, but I'm going to handle it. I'm going to deal with it. And it is a defensive symbol. But so it's sort of like, go away. I don't know if I really want to deal with this. But it's fine. I think it's suitable for what we know that's going on now. Then comes the Star, one of my favorites, because it's all about balance. And to me, that's as we're heading into the double-digit numbers, 10th, 11th, 12th, heading into a sort of an awareness. And you must remember, when I'm looking at Canada, I'm looking at the US, I'm not looking at specific states or elements. And Canada is going through its upheavals right now as well. But sometimes what appears to be upheavals is really about a rebalancing, which is what the Star is about. It's when we're dealing with our lives, when we're dealing with circumstances over which we have no control, we just have to kind of take it whatever. We still always need to remember we need a balance. And the most important thing is, how are we doing in ourselves? Where are we in relation to ourselves? Because that star symbol is followed by the 10 of Cups. Now, the 10 of Cups is happy for everybody's happy. So whatever is happening anywhere in Canada, US, whatever, I think by the time we get to the late teens, thank God, you're going to find that everything is settled down. Fires are gone. Things that, people who have been burned out, no, they're going to have trauma for some time. But it's like things calm. Only, I think, until we get into the 20s of the month. There seems to be a lot of, again, difficulties. Now, there will be a change of government in the US. Canada is up in the air because of the prime minister saying he is leaving. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. So there's a lot of what we call temporary issues, and that's with the Eight of Swords here. Can't see where we're heading, even though what we want is there. We can't see it. We don't know. So there's a whole sense of uncertainty, followed by another balance symbol. Remember, the star has a lot to do with balance. This is temperance, which is, again, rebalancing everything. And I look as I move through the 20s slowly, because we're balanced. Everything is balancing out. Everything is and to me, it's not only balancing, clarity. Feeling of clarity here. There's a lot of mixing up. The energy is good, nuts are good, everything. And now it's like we're having clarity because we know where we're going. We know where we're heading. Everything is in its place. And that is followed as we're moving towards the end of the 20s with this Nine of Cups. Everything is in its right place. I think personally that we operate so much better when we know where everything is. It's when everything is in chaos and we're not sure. We're not sure what's happening. We're not sure what's going on here or there. And right now there's all sorts of things circling around. And so here is everything kind of cools down. But by the end of the month, as we come into February, once more, emotionalism, uncertainty of direction starts happening. So look for on the, I would say, 28th to 29th. We've got 31 days, haven't we, in January? So no, that's too early, 28. I would say 29th to the 31st. There could be more information that's going to come out that people aren't really sure what's happening or where they're heading or where they're going or what they're doing. What surprises me here a little bit, we have the two higher arcana symbols regarding balance, temperance and the star. We have two sword symbols, which are problems, they're issues. One is an attitude, and this one, which is the 8. We have one wand symbol at the very end, but it's showing that we may not be going where we really want to go. 2 cups, it's quite balanced. January is quite balanced in lots of ways. Both cup symbols here are very good, plus ones, happy. And even the pentacles, even though we have some delay right in the beginning, this also shows there's a lot of solidity in January with all this stuff happening, fires, change of governments, change of uncertainty, things saying, we're going to have this or that or the other, sort of feel like the world's rumbling. And I'm looking at this saying, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe there's a lot of mucking around, but it's not really in the fabric. We'll put it that way. I mean, it might seem like it, but it doesn't seem like that. In the meantime, we want to talk about January because this is where we start looking. If we haven't already written out your goals for the year, I'm going to suggest you do that. So you have a rough idea of what you're working towards, how it's going, what you're happening. And one of the thoughts that came to me yesterday when I was contemplating getting back in the saddle, so to speak, was, what do we really believe? What's our belief system? Do we believe that there's a power that works with us? Do we believe that we're loved beyond measure? Do we believe that we have the ability to create that which we want and desire? Or co-create. A lot of people talk about co-creation, how we co-create our world. I was very fortunate, and that my quest to know, we'll say God, because that's where I started out from. My quest to know God, which started very young, because I couldn't understand what everyone was talking about, because I went to Sunday school, and I really wasn't in my body for a lot of years. And so I kind of didn't know what was going on. So, and life has put me in lots of different places where I came to understand and learn a lot of things. But in my quest for God, I started when I was in Canada. I had children and everything. I started doing certain workshops. And I was also getting known by that time as a tarot card reader and past life regressionist and things. So I was invited to different things to speak. And so I was opened up to other forms of, you might say, meditation or learning and growing. And I signed up for a 9-month course, 1 weekend a month. The third month, I think it was the third, it might have been the third month, I think. I ran into this energy, which I call to this day the love source. I like it was there. It was there above me, and I knew in my heart I had to bring that down. A lot of people feel that they go out there and then I knew that it had to be part of me. I knew that it had to be where I wanted to be. Now, in that connection, did it make my life any easier? Not necessarily. But what happened is I learned through trial and figuring it out how to have things happen and how to trust the process. One of the things I find with goal setting is that people think that if they, make the decision and they're going to have this, that it will appear. And it doesn't necessarily mean it will. There's a lot of variables that go on to create the right environment for where you are. And a lot of it has, how are you with your heart? I learned very quickly, probably not as quickly as I needed to, that my highest, what they call the highest and best. In other words, what is the highest and best for you? It's one of the things in a lot of the years of training that I did. And if you listen to Monday night's mental mind treatments, all that learning came from there, to always preface things the highest and best, for my highest and best. Highest and best doesn't always mean great and wonderful. Sometimes your highest and best is you running right into the wall. Because how do you know what to let go of if you don't recognize it, if you don't see it, if you're not aware of how all that comes together? So it's really important when you're looking at your goals of what you're wanting to create. And I do have some for this coming year. Probably far less than I normally do put out there. And so it's really about understanding that if you're looking at something, if you have any method of prayer or putting out or connecting with this, what I call love force, some people call God, Jesus, whatever, Allah. I've worked with Muslims, so it's a word. It's just a word that depicts a greater power than you. That's what it means. Sometimes that knowing that whatever that word is has a few ties with it as to what this greater power does or doesn't do. But at the same point, it's about looking. And for me, once I ran into that love force, I knew then. And so when my life would go crazy, it seems sometimes I just seem to lose everything. It was like, okay, where is this one taking me now? But I had a lot of experiences. And over the years, it was those experiences that had me help my clients. You see, if you can have all these concepts of how things are supposed to be, but if you haven't used it practically, if you haven't had to dig deep, if you haven't had to go through the depressions and the feelings of unworthiness or whatever, if you don't really understand that, when you're encountering that with clients or friends or people, you have no understanding of really what it's like. And very often I've had great things. I have had wonderful houses. I've had wonderful trips. I've traveled a large part of this world. And then crash and burn also. To know both ends of the spectrum, but also trust. Trust is a strange word, and I find that's one of the, when I'm working with energy releasing, I like to do 3 different transformations to get you all balanced and aligned. And one of them has to do with trust. And I think that's the hardest one. How do we let go and trust that no matter what occurs is for our highest and best? We tend to think if we say highest and best, we means everything is going to go smoothly, easily, and whatever. Well, if you're in California right now and you've got the fire bearing down on you and you can't get out with 100-mile winds, you said, are whipping those flames, what the heck's your highest and best is to ensure that somehow you get to safety. Somehow. How do you get there? Miracles will happen. You wait. You're going to hear miracle stories because that's what happens. I'm getting tears in my eyes, which won't be great because I understand. I've had things like that happen where things don't go the way I wanted them, but out of them came great, wonderful learning, great, wonderful understandings, and compassion for people who go through things. It'd be nice not to have to go through anything, but what are we here for? Many people say we're here to learn. I wouldn't disagree with that, but what are we learning about ourselves? We're learning our belief systems. And our subconscious, and if you get into any kind of metaphysics or self-learning, you're going to hear about the subconscious because that's where everything sits. All the lives you've had, all the decisions you have. I mean, we also know they're written into a big book. And so we call the Akashic records. And so it's like going through and clearing out that book thing that you've created for years and years. Actually, it's not years and years. It's lifetime after lifetime. But we make the same decisions. When you get a certain age and you look back, you'll see that when you encountered a certain situation, you make the same decision. And it's those decisions that lock the belief structures into place. And it's being able to go beyond those decisions so that you make new ones. And in particular, forgive yourself for making those old ones. Habits. I'm big on habits. I find people, I have them. We get up every morning, we go through our ritual. That's a habit. And then all of a sudden we're asked for some reason or other to change that habit. And it's difficult because for how many years you've gone and done the same thing and, get up, put the water in the kettle, make the tea or whatever you make, coffee probably. I haven't really drunk coffee for years. So there's lots of, there's this learning element of life. And so every January, when we are in the beginning of a new year, we always come in with high expectations. And then we hit the hurdles. Then we hit situations. And yet I also find that when you have a belief in a power, you begin to trust that whatever is happening is for your highest and best. I just had an example of that where I was very upset over something that took place, only to find out it's probably one of a good thing that's happened. It didn't seem like a good thing at the time. But now that the whole thing has resolved itself, it's like, wow, okay, now where do I go from here? But it's like we tend to run into judgments of how it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to look. So how does this all fit into goal setting? When you set your goals, as you're setting them and thinking about them and seeing yourself wherever that goal, you trust that goal takes you, always ask or add on for your highest and best. And even if it's crash and burn, know that is for your highest and best. Sometimes I forget that myself. And I put a shit in there. I should know better by now because so many times in my life, I've thought everything is gone, wiped out. Oh no. And yet I have just had miraculous things happen. Believe in that force that loves you. And if you cannot feel it, give yourself, I was going to say, a try or attempt. I can't find the right word. Isn't that funny? I was going to say imagine. That's the word I was looking for. Imagine it. Imagine a force that has your back always. It actually is there. And it's a force that very often in this world, people do not want to address it as a good force. They talk about it as being not a good force, but it's a power that has your back, and it's there all the time. And that's what you begin to, you rest on that after a while. You begin to realize that no matter what, the force, whatever you want to call that force, that loving force, that God force, that part that's there for you, is there for you, even if it doesn't look like it's bringing to you what you want. Sometimes what you want is not what you really need. Want and need, putting those two together. And so as you begin now to move forward into this coming year, that is going to be a strange year as far as I'm concerned anyway, because it is a 9-year, and a lot of people have a 9 birth path, but most of us don't. Not everyone has a 9 birth path. So we're not always used to letting go of things. What are we needing to let go of? What are we needing to righten the ship? But you understand, like, to make changes so that things flow. Part of that, as I've mentioned already, is trusting the process. I'm quite big in saying trust the process, but you got to know what process you're trusting. You got to know, and if you can't feel that love, I mean, this is where my clients, part of it is touching into the love force everywhere. And also being aware of gratitude, giving thank yous. I have a lot of mental thank yous often through the day, giving thank you for this, that, or the other. And then I don't for a while. And I notice it really quite quickly when I don't give my thank yous. Every person likes to be given, it's an acknowledgement. Every person likes being given an acknowledgement. Even when we say good morning to somebody, when we say have a good day, it's acknowledgement. And we are no different. Every individual wants to be acknowledged for who they are. They want support. They want love. And sometimes we don't get love from people around us, but we can get love from this loving force, whatever you call it. The thing is to connect to it. Some way or other, connect to it. Put it into your goals. Put it in around. And yes, maybe you're not going to get your goal. Maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe you're going to trip over your feet and go, where's my goal? I thought I was heading in the right direction. Trust the process. Your highest and best is always being activated, always. But you got to let go of that. It has to be a certain way. We want it this way or that way. We want this to happen. We want that to happen. A lot of rules. I found you put your goal out there, you let it flow and see what comes up. When I've done that, I've usually been very, very surprised. I have had lots of miracles happen in my life, and that's come when I've kind of let go and said, okay, and what's coming is good. Very, very good. So that's my talk for today. I'm just smiling to myself because I was up early this morning and I was all ready to go, and I realized, I've still got all this time to wait. But anyhow, just to bring you up to date on a couple of things is, of course, I'll be back just Wednesday on Sunday with a Sunday Thought, plus Monday night mental mind treatments. Those are being really well received, and we have quite an unusual group of people that come in, and I'm just absolutely not exactly amazed because that take, but I was going to say chuffed, but most people wouldn't know what that means. It's kind of a British term. It's kind of a smile and like watching people change, watching people add new dimensions to themselves by changing the viewpoint here. And that's what we're going to just turn it back to goal setting for a moment, is that you do need to have goals of some kind. I have mine written down where in my day timer, actually, where I can look at them and remind myself so I can keep myself going in the direction that I want. Of course, after the last 2 years, being healthy and going in the right direction is certainly high on my priority list right now, which is happening, which is really, really great. So I just want to wish you well today, and I look forward to you coming back and just let people know that I'm here. So I'm going to, just before I leave, acknowledge Yvonne and Maggie G. And I say that with your lovely comments and thank you, hearts, etc. Love you too. You have a great day, have a great week, and just remember your goals are important, yes, but the connection to the love force, as I call it, is even more important. So that you trust that to bring your highest and best to you every moment and every day, even when we don't like it. When in retrospect, you look back, you'll see you made a turn, you made a different thought, you made a different belief that has opened up your world. Wish you well. You shall be back on Sunday. Thanks, Sal. Bye.